Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another unboxing for Marvel Champions Hero Pack for Psylocke. We are the first hero pack of the X-Force series. So, we had the big campaign set with Next Evolution, which had Cable and Domino, and now we're getting into Psylocke as a new member of the X-Force team. So, of course, we're going to get her poster. Is just box artwork, which is definitely cool all the time. And we have some stuff. So we do have a couple of new things to go over. One is the new card type, player side scheme. So if you did not watch the Next Evolution box set, this is a new card type that was added into the game. So basically they work exactly like regular side schemes, except they're in a player's deck. So when they play them, they come out, they work after you pay like your 2-3 costs or whatever. They're on the board. They play just like any other side scheme. They have the cost, you have the steam to remove. But then when you remove them, you basically get a bonus for it. So it's the idea is just to be some of these characters have personal missions or extra things they're doing, which lots of comic book characters do. They're trying to besides maybe trying to stop Juggernaut from robbing a bank, they might be like, I actually came downtown to find supplies for this other mission. That just happened to be the other thing I'm dealing with. There is a player side scheme limit. This limits players to having at most one side scheme in play if 1 or 2 players started the game, and 2 if there are 3 or 4. So if you're playing 4 players and you're playing with a bunch of these side schemes, you can't have 6, 7 out and be trying to tackle them all at once. You can only have 1 or 2 out at a time, but they kind of make sense. You play them, deal with them, put them back, maybe play some more. If you play a new one, so the players exceed the player side scheme limit, the first player chooses to discard the side scheme from their owner's discard pile to only exceed the limit. Each of these player side schemes this product has Victory X keywords, so these schemes are placed in a victory display when defeated. So if you have 2 out and you want to play a new one, you can just get rid of an old one. Now keep in mind though, if there are any other card effects or other villain effects or anything that would say, do this per X number of schemes in play, that now counts as one. So other words that are in here, there have been a lot of other sets, but just in case this is coming from just only the core sets, piercing, tax, discarding tough stash before dealing damage, ranged, ignores retaliate, team up, names 2 keywords, including a card. To include a card of the keyword, your chosen identity must match one of the named characters. Additionally, a team up card cannot be played unless both of the named characters, identity or the ally, are in play. So, like, for Psylocke, hers, which will be with, I'm almost positive it's with Archangel, or Angel, you have to have Psylocke either as one of your main characters, or Angel if you're playing the Angel deck. Then either you can play the ally that matches it, or another player can have their character out. And we'll go over that when we get those. Then finally, we have Victory X. When a card with Victory X is defeated, place it in the victory display instead of its own discard pile. This is basically so that you can't resummon it and play separate times. Alright, so we're going to hop in and just look at her cards. I don't like getting too much into the other stuff. But let's look at her hero side first. Good old Psylocke here. So she has 1 fort, 1 attack, 2 defense. Not very high stats, but she has a star next to all of them. She also has Psionic and X-Force. Psi Energy Control, Interrupt. When you use one of Psylocke's basic powers, fort, attack, or defense, flip 1 Psi Energy upgrade. So alright, so she's gonna have less stats, but she's gonna have a way to use her upgrades multiple ways. My mind is sharper than any blade. Hand size 4, so not very lot of cards, but she has 10 hit points. If we flip over to her alter ego, we have Betsy Braddock. Recovery 3, Mutant and Psionic. Psionic Manifestation Setup. Put your 2 Psi Energy upgrades into play. Knife Psi face up. Action, exhaust 1 Psi Energy upgrade. Shuffle one Psylocke card from your discard pile into your deck. So her hand goes up to 6, and she has 4. So she can basically prep as Betsy. If she flips over, she loses her card. She wants to play a lot more. But she does have these extra Psy energy cards into play, which can do some stuff. Yeah, you can exhaust one of them to shuffle Psylocke cards from your discard pile into your deck. So it's going to keep letting you reuse them over and over. So let's see what her 2 side knives do. So she gets 2 copies of them. So Psy Energy Weapon Permanent. Psylocke gets +1 thwart. So I believe that brings her thwart up to 2. Hero Resource. Exhaust Psy Knife, you may generate 1 science resource. You may flip this card. Yeah, so basically you can exhaust this to gain a resource, and you flip it over. She loses her thwart when you do that, and she flips over, and she has Psy Katana. Permanent restricted. Psylocke gets +1 attack, and your basic attack gains piercing. Hero Resource. Exhaust Psy Katana, generate 1 fist resource, you may flip this card. So basically, if you want her to attack, you have on the Katana. And then you can generate it to basically spend her Katana as an extra fist to probably do a bigger attack. Or you can flip it back over, and on the other side, she can be thwarting with her knife, a little bit stealthier, and use science to gain that. So it's kind of depending on what way you want, but it also generates her an extra resource. And then if you just use one of your regular abilities, you can then flip it over to the other side. So that's kind of neat. So, like, you could thwart with her. Just for +1 thwart. Go ahead and use it. To thwart, she has 2 at this point. And then now you can flip it to the other side and have her ready to attack on her next turn. Or you could use that resource to spend for an attack bonus. So some different options there. Well, so it's going to work probably well with a lot more cards in our deck. We have Angel Warring, Worthington III. 3 cost ally, 1 thwart. To attack with 3 health, aerial, and X-Force. Response. After you play Angel from your hand, ready your identity. Could someone call me for a pickup? Definitely, especially good with this whole thing with her being able to flip. Thwart, flip your card over the other side. Now you have an extra attack. You can attack right away. Or vice versa. That's pretty cool. She has 3 copies of Flurry of Blades. Attack Psylocke, a 3 cost event. Hero Action Attack. Deal 2 damage to an enemy. For each Psy Knife you control, choose an enemy and confuse it. For each Psy Katana you control, choose an enemy and deal 2 damage to it. So again, she's going to be playing a lot depending on how you want to play the game, is which side you have face up. And what's neat is because you have 2 of them, so you could essentially have one side on Katana, one side on Psy Knife. And you could get both of these attacks. So if I played this, I deal 2 damage. I could confuse an enemy, and I could deal another 2 damage to it. Or to a different enemy. So that's actually pretty cool. Or I could have just Psy Knife up, 2 damage and 2 confuses, or Psy Katana, 6 damage. So it's pretty neat. Gives you some different options there. Lots of flexibility. She has 3 copies of Mental Detection, 2 cost event, Sonic and Thwart. Hero Action Thwart, remove 1 threat from a steam. For each Psy Knife you have, remove 2 additional threat from that steam. For each Psy Katana you control, draw 1 card. So this again gets her some options. You need to really do a lot of thwarting. Here's 3 thwart. Otherwise, you can use it to draw extra cards, or 1 of each. Gives you a little bit of options. 2 copies of Psionic Redirect. Defense Sonic, it's a 2 cost event. Hero Interrupt Defense. When you would take any amount of damage from an attack, prevent 2 of that damage for each Psy Katana. Prevent 2 additional damage for each Psy Knife. Confuse the enemy. Nice, because you give a guy multiple confusions, or you could do prevent extra damage. So she has 1 for each of her different types of attacks, or skills. 2 copies of Telepathic Suggestion, 2 cost event, Psionic. Hero Interrupt. When you reveal a card from the encounter deck, cancel its when revealed effects for each Psy Katana you control. Choose an enemy and deal 2 damage to it. For each Psy Knife you control, choose a steam and remove 1 threat from it. Ooh, that's actually pretty cool too. Again, this is really neat because you have 2 of them cards, so you get some options. She has Training Regime, 1 cost support, Training, Action, Exhaust Training Regime. Search your deck for a skill card and add it to your hand. Shuffle. If you are in hero form, discard 1 card from your hand. Practice makes perfect. So far she hasn't had any skills, but we're going to get to those right now. Martial Arts Training, 1 cost upgrade skill. She gets +1 defense. Hero response: after Psylocke defends against an attack, discard Martial Arts Training, ready Psylocke. Nice, so she gets the defense, but she has to spend it. But she gets to be ready again, so it's actually definitely kind of neat too. So it lets you willingly want a defense, because then you can be ready to do more. Psylocke Training, 1 cost upgrade skill. Ignores guard and patrol keywords. Hero response: after Psylocke thwarts, discard to confuse an enemy. And then our last one is Weapons Training, 2 cost upgrade skill, gains Retaliate 1. After Psylocke attacks, discard Weapons Training, ready each weapon upgrade you control. Oh, that's kind of cool too, because then that will let you turn around and re-ready your weapons. You can exhaust these to gain these resources. You do not have to flip them, but then you can ready both of them. Also worth remembering on here is exhaust 1 Psy Energy upgrade. Shuffle 1 Psylocke card from your discard pile to your deck. So she can keep exhausting her katana or knives instead of generating resources to basically reuse all her cards except for her skills. That's really fun. She has a really interesting deck. She can kind of be wherever she needs to be. You just gotta manage to flip them to more attack, thwart. Do you want to be confusing or doing more damage or defending? Like, do you want to defend more, or do you want to, like, you know, that stuff? Plus, whether it's worth generating them extra resources, or is it better to keep it on the one side? You know, very interesting. Alright, so we're going to look at her aspect. She's going to start with Justice. She's yellow. So, of course, she's going to get her brother, Captain Britain, Brian Braddock, a hefty 4-cost ally, but he has 3 attack and 3 thwart with 2 consequential damage and 3 health. Ariel and Excaliburs. I think this is the first time we've seen Excalibur. His star says Captain Britain takes -1 consequential damage after he thwarts a side steam or attacks a minion. I'll be your champion now and forever. So that's actually fun. So he has 2 consequentials unless he thwarts a side steam or attacks a minion. So if he does a thwart or attack, but it's not on the main guys, he doesn't take as much damage. He can stay out longer. And we also get Cypher, Doug Ramsey. 2-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack, and 2 health. Exports response after Cypher attacks and damages a confused enemy, draw 1 card. So Psylocke has some good abilities to confuse. He can go ahead and counter on that. Your body language told me everything I need to know about you, how to beat you. So it's kind of a neat idea because it's just a newer version where you learn how to kind of fight by reading languages and body. Although I wish he would have had more of just like reveal the top 2 cards of your deck or something, and then or 3 cards and put them back in any order. Maybe something like that would have been neat. Or like the top card of a deck, put it back on the top or bottom. I think that would have been more of a thing of him like passively doing stuff, not attacking, because he's not really an attacky character. I have 3 copies of Concussive Blow, 3-cost event attack. Hero action attack, confusing enemy. You paid for this card using a fist resource, deal 3 damage to that enemy. So this is fun, because Psylocke was all about either confusing or doing damage. This lets her do both. So you could spend your 1 Psy Knife to generate a fist resource if you needed to get the extra 3 damage off of this, but then you also confuse them. Which is very cool. And we have 3 copies of Upside the Head, 1-cost event, skill. Hero's response. After a hero makes a basic attack and damages an enemy, confuse that enemy. If that enemy is already confused, stun it instead. Nice, so we're going to get more stun in that. Her skill training card, which was training regime. Search your deck for a skill card. So we can search for this card, so that's actually pretty cool. Then we're also going to get Lay the Traps. This is our first instance of a player side scheme. It costs 1, still generates your energy if you use it. But if you play it, it creates 3 threat per player. It says 0, victory 0. But when defeated, the player who defeated this scheme deals 5 per player damage to the villain. You go low and I'll go high. I always go low. Fine, I'll go high. I like going low. Wolverine and Devil. Figure out who says which, right? Yeah, so that's actually pretty powerful. So this is what I just kind of neat about this is they play them. It's gonna take, you have to spend extra time thwarting them instead of doing something else. It might contribute to other effects, but the fact is you do 5 per player. So if, again, you're playing like a 4-player game, you defeat this, you gotta do 20 damage to the villain. Which would basically take out any villain. It's going to spend some time having to do it, but it's definitely worth it. And then the last aspect cards we have are 3 copies of Float Like a Butterfly. 2 cost upgrade, Skill, which is another skill card. Play under any player's control, max 1 per player. Interrupt. When a character you control attacks and confuses a confused enemy, increase that amount of damage attack by 1. Nice. So basically, she likes to have stuff confused, and then she can do extra damage to it. And you're getting some bonuses from these cards doing more damage, or just doing damage for confused. Plus, that makes Cypher work a lot better. Alright, then we have some basics. So she's going to get Pete Wisdom. So I wish Pete Wisdom also like Excalibur as well, because I think he's more Excalibur than X-Force. 4 cost, 3 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health. Play only if your identity has the X-Force trait. Response. After resolve 1 revealed effects of a treachery card, heal 1 damage from Pete Wisdom. Ooh. So although he has high thwart, he's going to do better to be attacking. Because you can keep healing it occasionally. That's a neat ability. We have 3 copies of Directed Force. 0 cost event. Skill. Ooh, another skill card. There's Havoc. Not quite sure who they're attacking there. Hero Interrupt. When your hero makes an attack that has the keyword Overkill, Piercing, or Range, that attack does 2 additional damage. Once per attack. Max once per attack. Did she have... Yeah, so she has her katanas out. Basic attacks gain Piercing. So basically this will make all her attacks do an extra 2 damage. That's pretty sweet. Okay, here's our team up card. So Soaring Hearts, you have Ariel and Psionic. Team up Angel and Psylocke. So I'm playing this in this deck. I have Psylocke out. If I get Angel out, I can play this card. If another player is playing as Angel, then either of us, if we have this card, can just play it whenever. We don't have to wait for that ally. They're definitely neat cards for that. They're basically a little bit more powerful for cheaper cost because they have that requirement. Hero Action. Search your discard pile for an identity-specific event and add it to your hand. Ready Angel and Psylocke. So it readies both your cards. Again, this is even more powerful if you're both playing identities because now both your identities are ready versus versus an ally. Alright, we have 3 copies of Power of the Mind, a new resource card. Double the number of resources this card generates while paying for a Psionic card. So way back in the core set, we had ones for each aspect. So if you played an aggression deck, you had Power of Aggression, which gave you 2 for every aggression, or Power of Justice, 2 for justice. This is fun because it works for Psionic cards, which there is a lot of characters that have Psionic so far. Different, especially her and Jean Grey right now. But like even some allies like Professor X or some other skills and other things there too. So definitely cool. We have IPAC, 1 cost support, X-Force, vehicle. Play only if your identity has the X-Force trait. Hero action, exhaust IPAC and deal 1 face down encounter card to a player. That player draws 2 cards. So you're taking the risk of taking an extra encounter card, which might hurt later, but you're getting 2 extra cards, so it might be worth the limited risk. X Bunker, 2 cost support, location, X-Force, exhaust X Bunker, and choose a player whose identity has the mutant trait. That player searches the top X cards of their deck for any card, where X is the number of side schemes in your victory display. Add that card to their hand. So searches the top of their deck where X is the number of side schemes in their victory display, and add for any card. Okay, interesting. So unless there's other side schemes you're gonna get, this isn't gonna be super powerful with just her deck, because she so far only has the 1 player mission. But if you're playing a 4-player game with her, Domino, Cable, Angel, the 4 current X-Force members out, will all have side schemes. Even if each one only has 1, you're gonna have a chance to get a couple different ones. So this could be very powerful. This almost be better than Cable's deck. Then we have 3 copies of Telepathy. 1 cost upgrade, Psionic Superpower. Play only if your identity has the Psionic trait. Max 1 per player. Hero action. Thwart, exhaust Telepathy and spend 2 genius resources. Remove 2 threat from the Steam. Nice. So, I mean, it's okay, I guess. I always be able to, just automatically remove threats without having to actually do a thwart action, but you have to spend 2 genius resources. Luckily, she has her 2 katanas or her 2 knives out. She can flip both of them over and generate 2 and do this basically as a free action. Be ready to attack with both of her katanas. So that's pretty neat. Alright, let's look at her obligation card, Body Swap. Give to the Betsy Badrock player you cannot flip your side katana upgrades. When revealed, flip each of your side energy upgrades to its side knife side and exhaust it. Alter Ego action, discard 1 side card from your hand to discard this obligation. Alright, so this is something you can definitely deal with. And I always say this, I like when they're not just discard a card to lose a turn, or exhaust your character and lose a full turn, or discard to get rid of this. Discard 1 side card from your hand. It's not that big of a deal. She has literally, her main card lets her bring cards back. That just gets rid of it that quickly. There's no way to remove this from the game though. That's kind of the one part's gonna keep coming back to haunt her. It's not too bad. Alright, we're gonna get to her nemesis. Now, if I would have said anyone who Psylocke's nemesis was, my first thought would have been Shadow King, possibly, because she'd have a bunch of battles with him. But I can get, okay, he's a bigger character, maybe we don't want to use him as a nemesis. So my second thought would have been possibly Mojo, because he's the one that swapped their bodies and ripped out his things, but again, he was already a boss. So thirdly, I would have said Revenge, who's a person she swapped bodies with. I would have thought maybe they had conflict, but instead they chose Chimera, which is fine, definitely works, kind of fits with the theming of the overall set versus just her personal minion. But he is a psychic player as well. So Chimera has the Marauders and the Psionic. Force Interrupt. When Chimera activates against you, she gets plus X Steam and plus X Attack. There's activation. X is the number of genius resources on cards you control. Ooh, so if her knives are out, yes, 2 extra resources. So that could be very bad. And some of her other psionic cards all look like they're science, like Telepathy, her location, her resources. Oh yeah, so that could be very bad. She can get very powerful very fast. Interdimensional Plunderer. Of all the dimensions I pillaged, this one's the nicer ones. When revealed, place one thread in here for each upgrade in play. Interesting. That's cool. Just not very hard unless you have a lot of upgrades. Psylocke Illusion Attachment. Psylocke attacks your identity. Force Interrupt. When you attack an enemy, name a resource type, then discard the top card of your deck. If that card does not have a resource of the name type, change the target of this attack to a friendly character of your choice and discard this card. Oh, so you have a 1 in 4 option. Science, Genius, or Genius, Strength, Energy, or Wild. Interesting. That's kind of cool. I only have 2 copies of the Telekinetic Dragon. I wish they put her on the card here, so that definitely works. When revealed, take X indirect damage, where X is the number of genius resources you control. If this X is 0, this card gains Surge. Boost. Choose either to spend a resource or confuse your identity. Nice. Those definitely aren't bad at all. Alright, then we're going to do stop and look at our deck listing. We'll just hold that up for a sec so you can see what all those are. How many are in there, just in case you were curious. And then we'll look at her extra cards. So we have, in aggression, we have 3 copies of Psybo Attack. We have a couple of her cards that have this. So, 2 cost event, attack and Psylocke. Play only if your hero has a Psylocke trait. Hero action attack, deal 4 damage to the enemy. This attack gains range. This will work with some of our other cards like Telepathy that needed range. Works with Psionic. So basically, if you want to switch her to aggression, she already has some Psionic cards to work with. Here we get an ally in leadership. We get Domino, Nina Thurman, which is interesting that she wasn't in the the Cable deck at all. But definitely cool. She also has the Posse and X-Force thing. Posse was like part of her special effect, but it works with some of our other characters. 3 cost ally, 1 thwart, 2 attack. Response. After you use one of Domino's basic powers, swap a card in your hand, the top card of your deck. Do you feel lucky, Punk? Oh, you know what? That would work really well against that Psychic Illusion. You have to discard the top card of your deck. While saying now you have Domino and you know what card's going to be coming up. So that's pretty fun. For protection, Psy Flail Strike. I love that. 2 cost event, attack and Psionic. Play only if your identity has the Psionic trait. Hero response, attack. After you defend against an enemy attack, deal 3 damage to the enemy and stun it. Nice. Getting good, doing extra damage. And then finally we have 3 copies of Telekinesis. It's nice to have Telepathy and Telekinesis in the same deck. Which kind of makes sense, I guess. 1 cost upgrade, Psionic and Superpower. Play only if your identity has a Psionic trait, max 1 per player. Hero action. Exhaust Telekinesis and spend 2 genius resources to deal 3 damage to an enemy. So this basically works the same as you can swap this out for Telepathy if you'd rather do thwarting versus attacking. So basically her other cards are going to be a little bit more aggressive than her main deck. But yeah, so that's definitely cool. That is Psylocke's deck. Those are her extra cards there. Keep these sorted out. Yeah, so definitely a very interesting character, getting to kind of play around with back and forth on your Psy energy cards and your upgrades, boosting your attacking defense. So if you have both of them out, you'll have 3 and 3. 3 on whichever stat you want. Definitely makes her pretty powerful. Alright, that's what we have for Psylocke. See you guys in the next video. Bye!